Trans Talk 2024, Episode 1, The Backstory. I'm joined by Wikus and Zane, the race founder of Trans Baviaans. I'm Zane Schmoll, also from Trans Baviaans. Who's actually the race director? You are, or am I, or I don't know. Sometimes. When the things go wrong, I'm normally the race director.
To blame.
Yeah.
Everything goes wrong, it's me. Right, it's me.
All right, cool. Well, this is us. This is episode 1. We want to talk about how the race started. And I think we've talked about this numerous times in different occasions, but I really want to talk to you. By the way, he is my father-in-law, so I also need to be careful about what I say and ask. And how it really back in 2004, but actually we're talking prior to 2004. Let's go even further. Cape Nature. That's where you started working. And I can't say that's where your love for the outdoors comes from, because that's probably even prior to that.
No, it's always been.
It's always been. Like Cape Nature, how long were you there?
Yeah, well, I've been working for Cape Nature for about 16 years. And during that time, I was based in the Southern Cape, George, mostly. And as part of my work, I visited nature reserves quite often. And because it's such huge distances, normally it's overnight stays. So I took my bike with. Those years, mountain biking was a new thing in South Africa. So not everybody was riding bikes. So I was frowned upon numerous times for taking my bike with on a work excursion. And I rode my bike in those nature reserves, and I think that's where the love for these exotic places sort of started.
And exotic places, I think we'll come back to Baviaanskloof, because it is actually quite a nice term you just used, exotic, because you don't think, we always, when we think exotic, we think tropical islands, palm trees, but the Baviaanskloof is quite exotic. It's a special space. But we'll go into that now. Okay, so roll on 16 years with Cape Nature. While you were still employed by Cape Nature, you were still a Cape Nature official when you started the To Hell and Back mountain bike race in
1995. Yes, I was still with Nature Conservation, and we actually, a colleague of mine and myself, we followed the official channels those years, and we wrote a letter to our head office, the chief director, and asked him if we could organize this event to the Hell, mainly as a marketing campaign for Baviaanskloof, or the Hell as it is known. And his simple answer in return was no. We're government officials. We're not organizing events. So then we went to NGO. I think it was the Round Table in Oudtshoorn those years, and asked them if they would be the front. We will do the organizing, but they then be the front of the event. So they agreed, and that's how it started. And of course, 96, I left Cape Nature, and I carried on with To Hell and Back in my private capacity.
Okay, and then so Hell and Back started 1995, and then EcoBound, and I think the official name back then was EcoBound Tours and Travel, and it also became your business became a tour agency where you took people all over Africa as well.
Yes, I've tried everything. EcoBound started as a tours company. After I left Cape Nature, we tried the touring business, which we did for a couple of years. Then the 1998, the Environmental Conservation Act came into being, and then requirements were that you need an impact assessment for any development, etc., etc. And with my background as an ecologist, that was a natural way to go, combined with the tours. So, and then eventually, when we started the Trans and more events, it became such a big problem that I basically left the other things behind. And so the name sort of evolved to Eco Mountain Events, what it is today.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's dial back. We went now far. Let's get it back to Trans Baviaans. You obviously spent time in the Baviaanskloof in a leisure format, but after Twellenbach, were you searching for another event? Did you want to create? Did you feel the urge to create another mountain bike event?
Yes, we've always been looking for, to expand the portfolio, and Baviaanskloof was always on my mind. But in those years, most of your mountain bike events was maximum 60 kilometers in distance. And the Baviaanskloof just didn't lend itself to this traditional format of mountain bike events. So it took me about 7 years from trying to figure out a way to do an event in the Baviaanskloof to the Trans Baviaans actually happening. So yeah, it was a difficult one because we couldn't figure out how to approach this until one day we decided to, that's a friend of mine, Marius, and myself said we're just going to start riding from Willowmore, go through the Baviaanskloof and see how far we can get in the day. So we ended up Cape St. Francis, actually, 16 and a half hours later. I'm not going to mention the overnight in between, but...
Oh, so you didn't do it in one go with the recce, is that?
Yeah, and so we said, well, it can be done, but now we need to figure out the format. And then because we did it in 16 and a half hours, at that stage we were like average riders. And we said, okay, 24 hours sounds like a good measure for anybody to do it. But that last stretch from Humansdorp to Cape St. Francis wasn't a nice ride, so we decided to move the finish to Jeffreys. And that's where the 24-hour idea started. And because of the 230-kilometer distance, we also decided we're not going to mark the route because it's such a huge distance to mark. We're going to do a route description, and so we brought in the navigation aspect into it as well.
Yeah, and we'll touch on this maybe in some future episodes as well about navigation and the route and that sort of thing. But back then also you had to calculate everything by hand. You didn't have GPS devices or anything on how to put this route together. Did you even know what the ascent was going to be of the race?
No idea. We had basic equipment, as you mentioned. There was no GPS devices those years, so we had an odometer on the bike, and I had a little pocket book that I plotted down the distances. At distance X kilometers, there's a turn to the left. Don't go there, go straight. I noted everything en route. And that formed the basis of the first route description that we used for the first event.
The Baviaanskloof, it's a World Heritage Site. By the way, this is also since 2004, it got its, what do you call it? It's acclamation as a World Heritage Site. Yeah. And it's been there for 20 years as well in terms of a World Heritage Site, but it's a special place. It's a mega reserve. Why did you feel so strongly? Because it was quite a big leap to go and say, let's do a 230-kilometer race, 24 hours. There must have been something about the Baviaanskloof. And I mean, most people watching or listening into us that have done the race know what the Baviaanskloof is, but that first period that you were there, it must have felt like a bit of a pioneer period going into the Baviaanskloof by bicycle?
Yeah, Baviaanskloof is very unique in many aspects. It's beautiful to start off with. It is the largest wilderness area in South Africa, 500,000 hectares in size, so it's huge. And of course, it's unique in the sense that there's no other place like it on Earth, basically. South Africa's got 8 different biomes, and 7 of them occur in the Baviaanskloof. I think it's only the desert biome that does not occur there, but all other biomes you will find in the Baviaanskloof, which makes it, from a floral point of view, very unique. So, yes, and riding your bicycle in such a pristine area, it's just nothing can compare to it.
And then rolling on, creating the race, hosting the first race in 2004, and we'll dive into the 2004 race as a separate episode. But the fact that you then eventually got to the point where you rode the race in the format that you presented it, and that was in 2018, you rode the race.
Yes, officially.
Officially, and in one go, not with the sleepover. And how was that experience?
Well, I did better than the first original ride. So we managed, I think, 14 hours. So it was good.
And was it a emotional experience riding your own race through the Baviaanskloof that you've been working on so long to get to that space, or was it just pure joy of riding your own race?
Yeah, it was. I don't think there was much time for emotions. I had so many cramps that I couldn't. But it was such a great experience to actually do it with all the other riders and people around you. It was, it was a great experience, yeah.
Yeah, so Trans Baviaans now then went into the 2004 was the first race, and then it's gone over to 20 years of racing. And we'll dive into more of this content about the 20 years and how to race. I think from viewers' side, that's hopefully gives you a bit of an insight of Wikus's journey in creating the Trans Baviaans 24-hour mountain bike marathon as we all know it today. In 2024, we are going to do the 20th edition. And I would once again, I think we're going to do this at every end of every episode, is send us your photos of your memorabilia of Trans Baviaans. Give us your old t-shirts, anything that you have that you can remember of the Trans Baviaans. And then also share your stories. We are collating those stories into a special edition episode, and give us the stories, whether you write them, send us video clips, however you feel easiest to get your story across to us. That is the backstory of the Trans Baviaans, and that was episode 1 of the Trans Talks.